News Bulletin and Forecast. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to our Weather Forecast News Bulletin. We meet today right at the period often considered the peak of the Atlantic hurricane season. According to decades of meteorological records, September 10th is typically the day when the number of tropical cyclones reaches its highest point. Yet this year's weather maps tell a completely different story. The tropical skies are nearly empty, with no areas of interest and no tropical depressions marked by the U.S. National Hurricane Center on its 7-day outlook. This is a rare occurrence, surprising not only weather watchers but even seasoned experts. The question is, why is September so quiet this year? Does this mean the hurricane season has truly weakened, or is it just a calm before the storm? In today's bulletin, we will analyze the situation comprehensively, from the current atmospheric environment and dynamic data to forecast models and potential scenarios for the second half of September. First, let's review the big picture with the latest satellite imagery and observational data. In recent days, the main development region, MDR, of the Atlantic, stretching from off the coast of Africa across the Central Basin, has been continuously covered by dry, warm air masses from the Sahara. This phenomenon, known as the Saharan air layer, SAL, carries fine dust and a capping inversion as it moves over the ocean, forming a stable layer at mid-levels. This acts like an invisible wall. Convection trying to rise from the ocean surface quickly dissipates. Mid-level humidity is depleted, and tropical waves that seem promising cannot consolidate into a cyclone. In short, the SAL acts like a giant shield, suppressing storms before they are born. At the same time, strong subsidence, sinking air from higher levels, is dominating much of the tropical Atlantic. As air sinks, it warms and dries, suppressing upward motion. Put simply, while storms need rising air to fuel their growth, the current atmosphere is pressing air downward, choking off any chance of cyclone development. This explains why we see clusters of thunderstorms on satellite that fade within hours without forming any organized spin. Meanwhile, over the northwestern Atlantic near the U.S. East Coast, a cold front is sweeping through. This boundary has triggered showers and thunderstorms along coastal states. But this is extratropical weather. While such fronts can sometimes evolve into subtropical or tropical systems under favorable conditions, the current environment, with strong wind shear and dry air, makes that virtually impossible. These rains are simply the result of clashing air masses, not the seeds of a tropical cyclone. When we compare this season to past years, we find that this is the third consecutive year in which the peak has been unusually quiet. Both 2023 and 2024 featured similar lulls, suggesting an emerging trend. The persistent presence of SAL, combined with larger-scale climate variability, may be reshaping the traditional rhythm of the hurricane season. This raises the question, is September 10th still the unchangeable peak of the season? To answer this, let's turn to numerical forecast models. The European model, ECMWF, known for its stability, continues to show a largely empty basin for the next 7 to 10 days. The 850 hectopascals vorticity charts, which track low-level spin, only show a few weak, scattered swirls with no signs of warm core development. In other words, through at least September 15th, the chances of storm formation remain near zero. The American GFS model is slightly more ambitious. A few recent runs hinted at a weak system developing around days 8 to 10 in the Northeast Caribbean or near the Northern Antilles. However, these signals are isolated and not supported by other models like ICON or CMC. Experts call this model noise, lone signals lacking reliability. While not impossible, this scenario remains very low confidence. The key point is that both models agree on one thing: the current background environment is too hostile for cyclone formation. The biggest culprit is deep layer wind shear. Maps of 200 to 850 hectopascals shear show most of the Caribbean and MDR under 25 to 40 knots, with even higher values in some spots. At these levels, any vertical storm structure is torn apart before it can organize. Shear, in essence, is like a blender shredding any attempt at vertical development. Another critical factor is the intraseasonal Madden-Julian oscillation, MJO. At the moment, the Atlantic is in a suppressed convective phase, shown by orange and red shading on velocity potential anomaly maps. This means large-scale atmospheric patterns are inhibiting rising motion here. However, forecasts suggest that around September 17 to 18, the MJO could shift into a more favorable phase, shown by blue shading, an indication of stronger upward motion and enhanced thunderstorm activity. This will be the window of opportunity that many experts are waiting for. If that window opens, the areas to watch most closely will be the Northwest Caribbean and the Gulf of Mexico. The reason lies in ocean heat content, OHC. Recent research from the University of Miami shows that upper ocean heat content in these regions is at record levels, even surpassing notorious years like 2020 and 2024. This acts like high-octane fuel for storms. It doesn't create them. But if a small disturbance enters, it can explode into a major hurricane in a short time. History has seen this before, with storms like Michael, 2018, and Laura, 2020, rapidly intensifying over such waters. In particular, the loop current, a strong warm current in the Gulf, shows deep purple colors on OHC maps, signaling extreme stored energy. This means any system crossing it, under the right wind and moisture conditions, could rapidly intensify. That's why experts urge Gulf Coast residents to stay vigilant, even when the current outlook looks empty. Another feature to note is the Central American gyre, a large-scale circulation that often forms near Central America late in the season. While most of its small spin-offs dissipate, with such high OHC, any seed that develops under favorable conditions could become a significant storm. From now until September 15, the primary scenario remains quiet, but from about September 17 to 22, as the MJO shifts, we could begin to see more organized tropical waves. If one manages to overcome the hostile environment, late September into early October could become a high-risk period, particularly for the Gulf of Mexico and Northwest Caribbean. This is why, even though the basin is calm now, we must stay prepared. While the Atlantic remains quiet, the Eastern Pacific is more active. A few areas there are expected to have medium to high chances of development in the next 7 days. Though distant, strong Pacific systems can sometimes influence upper-level winds near Central America, indirectly affecting shear over the Caribbean and Atlantic. To close today's bulletin, we offer a few practical reminders. Coastal residents, especially in the Caribbean and Gulf, should review their emergency kits, including water, non-perishable food, batteries, flashlights, and power banks. Be familiar with local evacuation plans. Store digital copies of important documents, and ensure home and vehicle insurance is valid. Most importantly, keep up with updates from official meteorological agencies as well as our channel for early warnings. In summary, the Atlantic is currently locked down by dry air, wind shear, and subsidence, but just a few shifts, MJO turning favorable, shear decreasing, humidity increasing, could flip the situation quickly. The key window to remember is September 17 to 22. If a system appears during that time, the Gulf of Mexico and Caribbean will be the areas to watch most closely. Thank you for tuning in. If you found this bulletin useful, please like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and share it with family and friends so everyone stays informed. We will continue to be with you in the coming updates, ensuring no one is caught off guard by severe weather. Goodbye, and see you next time.